Welcome, I'm April Dávila for Sit Right Here, and this is First Page Fridays, where we look at somebody's first page anonymously, and we talk about what's working and what isn't. We read it like an agent would read it. How does it land? Where is the confusion? Is it singing along just beautifully? We look at all of these details. So if you would like to send in your first page, there is a link below this video. And if you do, don't forget to like and subscribe so that you'll know when we do review your first page. So all that said, let's go ahead and get started. I'll move myself out of the way here. And keep in mind that I haven't read this either. I'm starting fresh with you guys. We're going to just read it through, and then we'll come back up to the top and talk about what might we tweak to make it land a little more solidly in the mind of the reader. All right, Worlds of Glass and Water, Chapter 1. The sun sets in the bruise-colored sky, its deep red and purple hues mirrored in the lake as we walk along the paved path. A chill whistles up my spine despite the summer warmth, and I glance around the lengthening shadows of the tall trees and shrubs. Ever since I stepped onto the trail, I haven't been able to shake this feeling, like I'm being watched by something just outside my periphery, and if I turn around fast enough, I'll be able to catch it. Crickets chirp a warning of the impending dark as Lauren strolls beside me. On her right side, a raised white scar spans the corner of her eye to the hairline. Catching the fading light on her golden brown skin, her suggestion for a walk in the park had sounded perfect. Luke loves this place, and Lauren and I'd be able to catch up since she's been away at soccer camp. I didn't know she had an ulterior motive. Combined with this eerie sensation, I should have just stayed home. She continues to grill me on the one thing I don't want to talk about. But why don't you want a birthday party? I promise Callie and I can manage your stepmom. I snort and try to rub away the goosebumps pimpling my arms. I'd think twice before committing yourselves to that. You don't know what she's capable of. You're just going to sit at home alone and do nothing for your 16th? I told you, it's just another day to me. Okay, so our system for some reason tends to take out carriage return, so I'm just going to start by putting in this bit of dialogue. Generally, when you're changing off speakers, you want to put a return here. All right. And actually, I like to start with the action when, so I snort and try to rub away the goosebumps pimpling my arms. I think twice before committing yourself to that. Okay, so I like that you get into dialogue here. Like dialogue is by definition has to happen in the scene, right? So it's always a great way to draw the reader into the scene. Now, when we talk about scene, it's a certain number of people in a certain place at a certain time, and it's a great way to look at this scene. The other thing to consider is how many people you introduce on your first page. A reader can only track 2, maybe 3 characters in the first 250 words, just because there's no context, right? Some readers, I will say, as a caveat, some readers are really good at just knowing a character by their name. Most of us need some context. So it's better to introduce them as you have some context for them. Let's jump back up to the top. Bruise-colored sky is a little cliche. I've definitely heard that before, but I do like. I might just give the actual hues, like the sunsets in deep red and purple, hues mirrored in the lake as we walk along the paved path. A chill whistles up my spine despite the summer warmth. Okay, so a chill whistles up my spine despite the summer warmth. Okay, so it's like an emotional chill. And I glance around the lengthening shadows of the tall trees and shrubs. Okay, so lengthening shadows points to later in the day, which matches up with our sunset. We're setting the scene here. Ever since I stepped onto now I would probably put in a return. You've set the scene. Ever since I stepped onto the trail. Now, it's not an I. You are this character, the I. I'm going to say you. It's not you, dear author. It is your character. But when you say I am picturing one person on the trail. So I would say ever since we stepped onto the trail. And then you can still say, okay, we stepped on the trail. I haven't been able to shake this feeling. But when you say we, you're setting up the fact that someone else is there. Ever since we stepped onto the trail, an opportunity here to tell us where. Okay, so my bias, I'm from Northern California. There's a lake in Lafayette, California, where a friend and I would go walking. And so that's what I'm picturing here, right? Until you tell me otherwise. And so if this is, that's what I'm picturing. And if that is the lake you're describing, then you got lucky, right? It is probably not. So you want to start, there's opportunity here. Like ever since we drove up from Oakland and parked in at the blah, 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 I forget the name of the reservoir we used to walk around. You don't want to overwhelm the prose with a ton of specific descriptions in the first page, but a couple of details. I mean, we already know that, like, I love that you've told us it's summer warmth, right? That's good. We have a lake, there's trees and shrubs, but can you put us somewhere in the world? So ever since we drove up to the reservoir at Lafayette, outside, like just over the hills from Oakland, California, maybe not even California. You want to say it in a way that the narrator would actually say it. But there's opportunity here to tell us where in the world you are. I haven't been able to shake this feeling, like I'm being watched by something just outside my periphery. And if I turn around fast enough, I'll be able to catch it. Crickets chirp a warning of the impending dark as Lauren strolls beside me. Okay, so now you're explaining the we. Crickets chirp a warning of the impending dark as Lauren strolls beside me. I might even say as Lauren and I stroll side by side along give us a detail of, I'm going to say as Lauren and I stroll along the, let's see, what details, because the more grounded you are in like an actual space, the better. Stroll along, let's say, past a patch let's say as grove of oak trees. Again, I am putting my Northern California bias on this. As always, anytime I'm doing one of these, please know that like I am making suggestions, right? You would need to do what is right for your story and your writing. But the reason I would put in a specific is, again, we're just trying to like ground the reader in the place and time. Crickets chirp a warning of the impending dark as Lauren and I stroll along past a grove of oak trees. On her right, so on her right kind of implies that you're talking, because you've been setting the scene. When you say on her right, I'm kind of expecting it to be a description of something out there, not the right side of her body. So you might need to say, like, just be specific. On the right side of her body, a raised white scar spans the corner of her eye to the hairline, catching the fading light on her golden brown skin. Okay, so the thing I like about this, she has this wicked scar. We're learning about Lauren. So this is what I was talking about, context. Like, this would not be the place to give Lauren's name because we're not really talking about Lauren here. You're talking about your thing, your feeling of feeling followed or stared at. Crickets are chirping a warning. Then you introduce Lauren, and then you tell us a little bit about her so we can remember Lauren. Lauren has golden brown skin. She has a wicked scar from the corner of her eye to her hairline on the right side. And it's not really on her body, is it? It would be on the right side of her face. A raised white scar spans the corner of her eye to the hairline, catching the fading light on her golden brown skin. It's actually catching the fading light on the scar, right? So the light is catching on the scar, is what you're saying. I would say catching the fading light and shining in contrast to her golden brown skin, because it's a white scar and it's catching the light. Excuse me. So there's a bit of a contrast. Again, your story, your characters, do what works for you, but make sure the contrast is actually between the scar and the face. Her suggestion for a walk in the park had sounded perfect. Luke loves this place, and Lauren and I'd be able to catch up since she's been away at soccer camp. Okay, I got a little confused in here. Luke loves this place, and Lauren and I'd be able to catch up since she's been away at soccer camp. I'm assuming Luke is not the she. I'm assuming Lauren is the she. So we're not really talking about Luke, except to say that he loves this place. So Luke, again, there's no context for Luke here. So he kind of whops you upside the head and then disappears. I would just say, I would save Luke Because let's see here. I didn't know she had an ulterior motive combined with this eerie sensation. And again, this is referring to this thing up here, not Luke. I should have just stayed home. She continues to grill me on the thing I don't want to talk about. Okay. Yeah, I would definitely save Luke here. So her suggestion for a walk in the park had sounded perfect. Laura, I would just say we'd be able... You could even say I'd been looking forward to catching up since she'd been away at soccer camp. Her suggestion for a walk in the park had sounded, let's say, it sounded like a perfect opportunity to catch up since she'd been away at soccer camp. I didn't know she had an ulterior motive. Combined with this eerie sensation, I should have just stayed home. Now, you have to kind of say what's combined, because right now, like her suggestion is the subject of this sentence is her suggestion. I didn't know she'd had it combined, so it's either her suggestion or the ulterior motive combined. It's a little muddy, so maybe her ulterior motive, combined with this eerie sensation of being. Combined with this eerie sensation, and you might remind us of being watched, made me think I should have just stayed home. Watched, yeah. So again, we want to be really clear on our first page. When we're further into the story and we have more context and we know all the characters, it's not to say that you don't want to be unclear, but it's easier for the reader to follow what you're saying because I have a lot of context. On this first page, clarity wins above all else, right? And so even if it feels a little like, okay, I'm being too clear, I think it's hard to be too clear on the first page. Her ulterior motive combined with this eerie sensation of being watched made me think I should have just stayed home. She continues to grill me on the one thing I don't want to talk about. But why don't you want a birthday party? I promised Callie and I can manage your stepmom. So this is a fun way to introduce a character that, like, as I'm reading this, I'm noting, okay, Callie is a friend, but I don't feel like the story is asking me to remember who Callie is yet. When we meet Callie, when she becomes more a part of the story, I'm sure I'll have like characteristics that help me know who this character is. But like, so my advice of like, don't introduce too many characters. We've got our main character and we've got Lauren. This one doesn't feel overwhelming to me because I don't feel like I'm being expected to remember who this is just yet. I snort and try to rub away the goosebumps pimpling my arms. I think twice before committing yourselves to that. You don't know what she's capable of. You're just going to sit at home alone and do nothing for your 16th. I told you, it's just another day to me. So this actually really starts to get even more interesting to me. We've got this sense of being watched, which poses a little bit of like, okay, what's happening? There's some curiosity, definitely. One of the things you always want to do on a first page is pose some questions like, is she actually being watched? If so, why? If not, why does she think she's being watched? Is she just a guilty conscience? Has she done something to feel guilty about? So it's an interesting thing to pose on the first page. But then when we get down to, then you introduce Lauren, right? We learn a little bit about her. She's a soccer player. She had an ulterior motive in proposing the walk. And then we get into the birthday party discussion and the question around the stepmom, right? So this poses just enough curiosity that as a reader, I'm definitely engaged. I would definitely turn the page and keep reading. As you start to build out this conversation a little bit, keep in mind that things like this go a long way. So when you get into like line of dialogue, if it's just like dialogue, look for ways to break it up. And I don't know that it is, right? Because this is where the sample cuts off. And if it was just 2 lines without any context, that's not a big deal. But keep in mind little things of like gestures, or maybe she walks a little bit faster and our main character has to speed up. Also, I wonder if you could get, our main character's name in here at some point. It's always a little bit of a writerly trick. How do you enter when you're in first person? How do you get your main character's name in there? How do you tell us things about them? We don't know anything about her except that she's about to turn 16, which is not nothing, and the rest could come in later. But we actually kind of know, in terms of like appearance, we actually know Lauren more than we know our narrator. Now, you could do little things like give us hints, like if they're walking, maybe if this character is not someone who's athletic, I mean, Lauren clearly is, she's a soccer player. Is our main character someone who's struggling to keep up with Lauren? Like, is she huffing and puffing? Is she wiping sweat off her brow? Or are they equally as like athletic? Maybe you could comment like, maybe Lauren has longer legs, right? And so comparing and contrasting is always a great way to get details in when you're in first person. You could be like, I struggled to keep up with Lauren's long legs. My short, stumpy legs have been, or maybe Lauren is like, remarkable how fast Lauren could be on those short legs. I was 6 inches taller than her and had trouble keeping up. Like you can put in little details. You don't have to tell us everything about this character, but look for ways to start to weave in, a little bit here and there about who this person is, what kind of person they are. Maybe you could have a thing where she like pulls her long hair into a ponytail, or she wipes her short hair back from her forehead and it sticks because it's sweaty. There's opportunities here to drop in maybe a detail or two delicately, right? You don't want to overwhelm. This first page is generally working really well. But a few details about our narrator wouldn't hurt, and probably not on this first page, but soon would love to get the narrator's name in here. I think that's everything I have to say on this one. It's, again, I'm intrigued. I would turn the page. It's got great details. And then it's just a matter of weaving in a few more of those grounding things so that we feel like we're getting to know the character. All right. Thank you, dear writer, for sharing your page with us. This doesn't work unless you do. If this was not your page and you'd like to share yours, again, there is a link below. You can send in your page and we'll put it in the queue. And if you are working on a novel, this is what I do. Developmental and line edits are my sweet spot. It's what I do all day. So if you would like some help with your manuscript, please feel free to reach out, book a call. There's a link for that below in the notes as well. Happy writing, everybody. See you next Friday.